Welcome to episode 18 of the Blasting Basketballs podcast. I'm your host, Steve Gjino, joined today by special guest Phil. He's a knowledgeable NBA mind, and I've played basketball with him a bunch of times, so I consider us to be good friends, even though we don't talk like every day. Phil, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Glad to have you on. I like having a variety of people on the pod. It brings a lot of different perspectives, and I know that you know a lot about the league, so yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes.
For sure. Thank you for having me.
Yep. Jason, fourth time on the pod. Those appearances are racking up quick. How's it going?
It's good, man. It is what it is. What it do?
You got the Sonics jacket on. I see that.
Yep, resident Sonics fan here.
Jason, where are you?
Well, originally I'm from Seattle. I was born there. And then I moved to Worcester, where I met you in the 8th grade. And then I moved to the Amherst area, which is where UMass is and stuff. And we've also played basketball and stuff. And I think that's all you need in a friendship, right? It's just a little basketball history between each other.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've played with you.
Yeah, I remember the last time I played with you. I remember you got crossed up. Your ankles got broken. Dude was on the floor, man.
Because it was just like a jab step, and then I just fell. Like, it was actually crazy.
That was the funniest thing. Like, when I saw you fall, I fell just laughing. Like, that's hilarious.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of a load managed player now, like Kawhi, because I had a shoulder injury that just hasn't.
Yeah, I remember that.
Injury prone.
Yeah. But so this is the 18th episode. It's been tough kind of thinking of a player that's number 18 in the league, because like I do that for every episode. Like I just say like, oh, this is the blank episode, but like for the past few episodes it's been tough. Like number 16, I had to look it up, Peja Stojakovic. Number 17, Dennis Schroeder, but like come on. And number 18, again, I couldn't think of anyone. Do you guys?
That's a tough one.
Know? Do you guys know anyone?
Yeah, Mike Miller.
Oh, okay.
That's a good one. Off the top of my head, I can't even think of one.
Yeah, I mean, I had to look it up. So there's guys like Marco Bellinelli, Dion Waiters, like Cedric Maxwell, but like they're all like not really exciting names. So
hey, Dion Waiters. You know, he took an edible on a plane, right? And he freaked out or something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's actually pretty.
That's interesting. He was good. He was decent before all that.
Yeah, happened. No, he is pretty good. So yeah, one thing I wanted to talk about on this episode is analytics versus the eye test. So I actually came up with this idea from watching the pod with Kevin Durant and Draymond Green, where they were talking about how if you insert analytics and statistics into the wrong areas of the game, it kind of takes away from the art of the game, and it kind of makes things dull. It kind of leads to everybody just jacking up threes, like guys that shouldn't be shooting a lot of threes do. And one misconception that Draymond Green mentioned is like, people think that the Warriors of the past, like they were such a great three-point shooting team because like all they did was jack up threes, but like that's not really the case. The reason why they were able to kind of play on the perimeter like that was because they had that in-between game. They had the ability to attack the rim and put the defense on their heels. So that's something that people can't really fathom. It's like, to be a three-point shooting team, you also have to have everything else going for you. So like, how do you guys feel about analytics, the notion that three's worth more than two, so why even take a mid-range? Like, Phil, how do you feel about this whole conversation?
I feel like the game has like changed so much. Like Steph literally changed the game. Like everybody just takes threes now. You can see it. Like the Celtics literally almost every. I remember watching a game like it's like a month ago. It was the season. I'd say like 15 straight possessions. Us and I think we were playing. I want to say Sacramento. Every single possession, 15 like straight possessions. Just everybody just throwing up threes, shooting threes. So it's like I feel like it's more the direction of like where the NBA is gone now, and they probably look at it as in like they just say it's a better shot than like that mid range that like they used to take like back in the day. Like we had Pierce, Kobe, everybody would be taking mid range. Now the game has just absolutely changed. So
Yeah, and again, you need the mid range to kind of to have that threat. So people kind of are on their heels and like they're like not sure like is he going to shoot the three, is he going to shoot the two? So like you need the mid range. That's something that people don't really understand. Jason, what about you?
Yeah, so there's definitely a time and place for analytics, and you know, analytics can tell you like how fast a team plays or how good defensively a team is, but it's not going to tell you who's going to make that shot at the end of the game. Like who's that guy? You know, there's a lot of human emotion that analytics can't explain to you in the game. So there's definitely a time and place. You know, in the Kevin Durant Draymond podcast, they said like, yeah, field goal percentage is important, but you know, who's really that guy? The analytics aren't going to tell you. So in terms of like mid-range shots, Alabama college team, they're known for not taking any mid-range shots. And what happened against UCLA is they had to shoot free throws and they couldn't shoot their free throws. They couldn't make their free throws because they didn't practice mid-range shots. So I think mid-range shots are actually underrated now because people are hating on it. But it's easier than three-pointer. And if you like people like DeMar DeRozan or Carmelo, they kind of mastered the craft of the mid-range, and you know, they're good players.
Yeah, no, one of the things about the mid-range is like it's a rhythm shot, you know? You kind of have to build your rhythm up. And that's another thing that gets lost in translation from the eye test to analytics is like they're like almost different languages where you try to translate what actually goes on the court to paper. It's just a lot of things are going to get lost, like things that aren't tangible, you know, like heart, like will, things like that, like rhythm. So it's just hard to look, and sample size is really important too. Like just because somebody's shooting 50% from three on like 4 attempts doesn't mean they're like a great shooter, you know? So like there's just so many different factors that go into this. Like Phil, did you have something else you wanted to say? I think you were getting ready.
I was gonna say like I agree with that 100%. Like there's some people that I mean, Steph takes like 10 a game, and you got like those guys, and like they're making them at a 50% clip shooting 10 a game. And then you got the other guys shooting like 2 a game, but they're making 1 out of 2. So it's like you can't really.
Yeah. And if they're guarding you at the top of the key, and then you can either drive, but then they're gonna crash, like the paint protectors could crash. So you have to have that mid-range game to kind of balance that out.
When I think about this argument, something that really comes to my mind is when the Rockets went 0 for 27 towards the end of that game against the Warriors. That's just ridiculous.
That was tragic.
The funny thing is they were up going into the half too. So it's like they really blew that. Like it's crazy to think about because if James Harden got a ring that year, I mean, the conversation around him would be a lot different, you know? But speaking of somebody that kind of evolutionized the game and made this whole analytics thing more prominent, Steph Curry. So this season, Steph, I recall that he was kind of being doubted in the beginning of the season. He wasn't exactly leading his team to wins early on, so people were questioning, like, can he carry a team? Is he really like an MVP caliber player? Obviously, he's proved over time that he's probably the best player in the league right now. How do you guys feel about the fact that he's going to probably get his second scoring title, leading this under-talented Golden State team to a likely play-in tournament appearance? How do you feel?
I think he's definitely top 3 right now, MVP, and I think it's just nuts what he's doing. Like his MVP season, like he's his numbers are like better than that, I think, right? I think I saw that.
Mhm.
And I just think like, I mean, not having Clay there and like they've had like quite a few injuries. I mean, like Kelly Oubre is not playing the best basketball of his career. Wiggins is,
Terrible.
he's inconsistent. So I think just what he's doing with like the team that he has, like it's nuts. And I think it was 4 out of 5 games he hit 10 threes now. Like last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? That
and
was crazy.
the thing that sticks out to me about Steph is the degree of difficulty on his shots. Because like when you have the spacing of Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant with you, it does make things a lot easier. But especially this season, like it's so difficult some of the shots that he's making. So it's super impressive to me, honestly.
Yeah.
Jason, I know you like Steph. So how do you feel about kind of the wishy-washiness of how people view Steph, especially this season?
I mean, yeah, this recent stretch he's had, he's been absolutely on fire. He's proving his worth right now. And when you see the Warriors without Steph, they might be the worst team in the league. Like they went down by 60 to the Raptors. Yeah. Steph's one of the greatest of all time, and he's definitely the greatest shooter of all time. And I heard a stat where he could go like 0 for 500 in his next shots, and he would still have a better like 3-point percentage than Ray Allen.
Jeez. Phil, were you going to say?
I could.
No,
Yeah,
I was gonna
I
say
could
that's just
just-
crazy. I heard that stat too.
Yeah. That could be a little like exaggerated, but something along those lines.
Yeah, and I actually saw a debate yesterday where like it was shown that LeBron and Curry have the same overall rating in 2K right now. They both have the highest rating in 2K. They're both a 97 out of 100. And I saw some people saying that Steph's not a 97 out of 100 player. He's just a shooter, as some people would say, which I just don't agree with. He brings so much more to the table. He brings leadership. He brings ball handling. He tries on defense. I mean, given his like short frame and his like not like long arms or anything, he's not like the best defender, but he tries. Like playmaking, like one of the best ball handlers, best shooters. So like, what in terms of what he brings to the table, I do think he's probably the best player right now. Like, how do you guys feel about the fact that they're the same overall, but they're like such different players? Bill?
I think it makes sense, 100%. Especially like right now. I mean, 2K is basing off how he's playing right now, and obviously I think he's playing like the best in the league. So why not have the best rating in the league?
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad if they rated him higher than LeBron. I mean, LeBron's not even playing right now, so like.
Yeah. Agreed,
Yeah.
100%.
LeBron's trash.
Like when they're rating a player too, they're not necessarily comparing Curry to LeBron. They're more so comparing Curry to what he brings to the table. Like just because Curry can't like dunk over everybody doesn't mean he doesn't deserve a 97,
Yeah.
Like in terms of what he can bring to the table, he's a 97 out of 100 to them, which honestly, he could probably be like a 98 or a 99. I wouldn't even be mad at that.
No.
Jason, anything to add to that before we move on?
No, just a 3-pointer is better than a dunk. More points.
Oh yeah. But I do think it's really.
I mean, yeah.
Like the old saying of "you live and die by the 3," like it's always going to be relevant. Where I think rhythm is the most important thing in the NBA or in basketball in general, and body language. I think body language is really important. We see that with a lot of players like Jason Tatum or even Paul George, one of my favorite players. I notice when his body language is off, he's usually going to have an off night. So like building that rhythm and having the confidence and the mental aspect is really important. Like I want to have an episode where we just talk about the mental health aspect of basketball and how important that side of things is. But speaking of like players in the upper echelon of the NBA right now, I even think Giannis could be up there with LeBron and Steph in terms of like a 2K rating. So Giannis, back-to-back MVPs. He's been to the conference finals, but is this the year that his team finally makes a jump to the NBA Finals. Phil?
Honestly, I think they've been like kind of like on the low key this year. They've been flying under the radar a little bit, and I think that's exactly what they need. Like they don't like obviously the Nets are the most talked about now in the East, and I think the Bucks I think it benefits them because this way like they have like a little bit of a chip on their shoulder where they could in the playoffs if they meet with like the Nets. Honestly, I think that they could actually make it to the finals possibly because Drew Holiday would be like on Kyrie probably. You got Giannis that could probably guard KD and Middleton that could probably guard Harden pretty well. And then it's just about like role players and stuff. And I think Milwaukee's built pretty well, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You actually have a Giannis jersey in your background, it looks like.
Yeah, it's the Greek jersey. I got quite a few jerseys down here.
That's nice.
Yeah. You can see IT over there with a nice sandwich.
Jason, how do you feel about the Bucks?
Yeah, so they've practically been swept the last 2 years. And well, now they have Drew Holiday, who's definitely way better than Eric Bledsoe. So I like that addition, and PJ Tucker, also that's a good like veteran presence right there, and I think it's definitely helpful that they aren't like the favorite anymore. So now they're the underdog because they've been like the 1 seed the last 3 years or something, and so now that they're the underdog, I think they have more of a chip on their shoulder, and I think Drew Holiday is going to push them past to at least not getting swept. And I also think the Nets are just a bust waiting to happen. There's too much drama, too many injuries. They just got this whole team together. I think it's going to take them at least a year. So the Bucks could definitely beat the Nets this year. But I think the Bucks are they're going to have more of a challenge against Miami in the playoffs, because I think Miami's going to make a strong run, just like they did last year, where they just came out of nowhere. It's only if Oladipo's like 100%. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I think about the East situation right now.
Yeah, I think.
Oh wait, and obviously the 76ers also have a strong chance.
Yeah, I think a mistake that people make when they're assessing like Giannis as a player, like what he brings to the table, is calling him a guard or like thinking of him as a guard. He's more of a big man, like he does handle the ball in a lot of situations, but when it comes down to like crunch time and when it really matters most, you kind of see what people are really made of and what they really bring to the table. And you notice that Giannis plays as more of a big man where he's not really shooting jumpers as much. Like, don't get me wrong. I actually think Giannis has a jumper in some ways. He's not very consistent with it. But like when it comes down to it, he's more of a guy that plays in the lane and tries to get his teammates involved. So
he's like a point center.
Yeah, almost. Like there's like new positions getting created like every day in the NBA. But yeah, that's why it's really important for a team like the Bucks to kind of try to round out their roster. Like it was really important to bring in a guy like Drew Holiday or people like PJ Tucker, DiVincenzo, George Hill, like guys that can help.
Bobby Portis.
Yeah, he actually is a really high motor guy, really high energy, so he can bring a lot to the table, especially in the playoffs. But yeah, like just giving more of a balanced attack and like not allowing teams to be able to build a wall against Giannis is what's going to lead them to have more success, because we all know Giannis can be the best player in the league at times. So that's how I feel about the Bucks.
Mike Budenholzer. I think if he gets swept this year, he should be fired. Or if they get bounced in like the first or second round, that he should be fired, because he did the same thing with the Atlanta Hawks when they were 1 seed. Like they got swept at the playoffs. Like I think Mike Budenholzer is a little bit of a question mark.
I think it's likely that he would get fired if they did have an early exit, because like that's usually the way things go in the NBA.
Yeah, and he's had so many chances. Like if he doesn't get it done this year.
I agree. I feel like it's almost like the Brad Stevens situation, though. I was one of the people like this year saying I think Brad Stevens might needs to get fired. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like we're kind of like the same. We've gone to what 3 out of 4 Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, granted we were injured that one year without Kyrie and Gordon, but even then we made it to like the Eastern Conference Finals. And then the next year we had the talented team. We couldn't get past, what was it, the second round? We lost to Milwaukee. And then like last year we couldn't get past Miami either.
Yeah,
Phil,
that was that Milwaukee series to me, that was kind of like that let me know Brad Stevens might not be a good coach, because I remember they were down 10 or something, and then like their whole bench is in the third quarter, and then Giannis is about to check in, and Brad doesn't even check in his best players. Like, you're down 10, Giannis is about to check in. You gotta put in your best players. It's only the third quarter. Like, you're trying to compete. You basically just threw in the towel with that move right there.
I agree 100%. I think Brad Stevens might be like one of the worst coaches with like lineup situations and giving minutes. I don't know, it's just awful. Like,
one thing that I've noticed is he tries to ride with the guys that are putting in a lot of effort. So like even if they're not the best players, he's gonna like give them a chance. You've noticed it with like Romeo Langford. Like he's been starting Romeo Langford even though Langford's not like the best offensive player as of late, but he puts in a lot of effort, especially with like rebounding, defense. So I think Brad rewards hustle and effort more than like he doesn't treat players like superstars, like he doesn't give like preferential treatment. So
I like how you say that, but then again, like seeing the game today, Romeo Langford played the last 3 minutes of the game. That's it. After he just started the last 2 games, which I was confused about. Like I don't get it. Like
dude. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say like he just doesn't give like Pritchard. Like he was on fire at the beginning of the season because he was getting minutes, and now he's averaging like 8 to 10 minutes a game. Like, what are you gonna do in 4-minute spurts where, like, I don't know. Stevens is just very bad in my opinion with the lineups.
Yeah, and like it took him until like halfway through the season to start playing Robert Williams like actual minutes. Like he's clearly your best big man.
Yeah.
Like, why are you starting Daniel Theis? I mean, Daniel Theis is all right, but like Robert Williams, like he's a prospect. Like he's still young. Like put him in the fire. He's balling. Like every time he gets minutes, he puts up good stats. Like
yeah. When it comes to Robert Williams, I think he's more of like an energy guy, and like you can't really play energy guys like 35 minutes because.
I'd like to see him play 35 minutes though.
Yeah.
I'd like to see. He's never done it.
You gotta try it to like.
He was trying out like Carson Edwards at one point in the season. Like, what's wrong with trying out starting Robert Williams at the 5 for like 35 minutes in the game? But I heard that he like can't run. He can't play for like 35 minutes in a game. That's what I heard.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
maybe
they'll just get tired.
But yeah, going back to the Bucks, I kind of wanted to bring up that Jrue Holiday is considered like one of the most underrated players in the league. Like, I listened to the All the Smoke podcast by Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson a lot, and one of the questions that they asked their guests, and mind you, most of their guests are NBA players, they always ask their guests who's the most underrated player in the league, and like 95% of them say Jrue Holiday. So like it's a common theme that Jrue Holiday is considered like one of the more impactful players that's kind of slept on. I like Jrue Holiday. I think he's a pretty shifty player, really solid handle, great defender, as we all know now. I think the most notable thing about Jrue Holiday was when he did a pretty good job of containing Lillard in that playoff series a few years back. That's when people started to really, when people started to really recognize him. But I wanted to ask you guys, like, who do you think are some of the more underrated players in the league, Phil?
I'd say definitely, like he didn't used to be underrated, but he's definitely flown under the radar now, DeMar DeRozan.
Mhm.
I think he's just kind of carrying that Spurs team. They're at the 9 seed, I want to say, in the West, and that is ahead of Golden State right now. So, like, to be in the 9th seed in the West, like, they're ahead of the Pelicans too. So, like, I think he's just leading that team. He's playing power forward, so it's kind of like something he's never really done. He's averaging like 21, 5, and 7, which is crazy.
I like that you mentioned he's playing power forward because you wouldn't really expect that.
Yeah.
He's not exactly the prototypical power forward.
No.
But with the way the game's going, it makes some sense because
Yeah.
he provides you that versatility that you need. I think that anytime you can put versatility out on the floor, you should in the modern NBA because it's what the game's shifting towards, kind of more of a small ball mindset. Yeah. Do you think DeRozan's underrated because he's in San Antonio, or?
I think that could play a factor, 100%.
Yeah, it's like it's not one of the more like
Yeah,
sexy markets, you know.
I agree. Not anymore, but
Yeah.
it never really was a sexy market. But like Tim Duncan, you know, he was there for so long. They were just so good for so long. But I don't know. It could just be Pop. Just
Right.
I remember watching the Celtics play DeRozan when he was on the Raptors. I was shocked at the mid-range shots DeRozan would hit. Like, he has a way of getting to his spots and hitting that patented mid-range jumper. Like, he's a problem in the mid-range. That's another thing. It's like maybe he doesn't shoot that many threes, so he just flies under the radar now. But like,
yeah.
it's a joy to
That's
watch.
probably it.
Jason, what about you?
I mean, I don't know. Underrated is such a subjective thing. I feel like you could say so many people like off the top. I like from the Spurs, just like DeMar. I would say DeJounte Murray is pretty underrated. I like. I'm just gonna name off some names. Michael Porter Jr. He's been low key consistent. Kevin Porter on the Houston Rockets. If he could, he's still young with more experience and maybe a little better behavior. He could be really good in this league. You know, there's a lot of underrated players that I think if they could just get the opportunity or the minutes, that they could prove people like they could be an all-star.
Paul
Yeah,
George.
there's too many players to.
Paul George.
Nah, he's. I think he's perfectly rated right now. I think he's right where you want him.
I hate all the hate that he gets. Like, he's my favorite player, so like, you know, I understand. Like, you got to prove it when it matters most.
I think James Wiseman is overrated though.
Yeah, he's really young though, so you can't judge him off what he's doing right
That's true.
now.
But from what I've seen from him, he doesn't really bring too much like energy. You know, like he's missing dunks. I've never seen him like get an and one who's like, yeah, you know, like that's what I want to see. You know, I want to see someone bring energy.
Yeah, one guy that I wanted to bring up, and it's actually a good segue into the next segment. Tobias Harris. He's pretty underrated. He was probably the biggest all-star snub. He's pretty much an ideal complement next to Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Face up four, can stretch the floor. I think the biggest asset that he brings to complement his like pretty versatile skill set is his size. Because you notice he can shoot over guys. He allows the Sixers to kind of put out lineups where it's like you look out there and nobody's under like 6'7". So it just makes it so hard to score on them. And then on the other end, they can just score right over you with Embiid in the post or Simmons going downhill, Tobias Harris hitting threes, hitting mid-range. The Sixers are kind of a similar case to the Bucks, I think, where in the past they've had a really strong interior presence, but the perimeter has been lacking. And it allows teams to kind of game plan for that interior attack. So how do you guys feel about the Sixers? And this is a really East-heavy episode, but Phil, how do you feel about the Sixers?
Honestly, I love the way that like Daryl Morey has like built the team. Like they got shooters now, and like I think Steph Curry was like a great pickup, like a great trade for them that they made.
Yeah.
And then they're giving minutes to
Like
like
JJ
Shake
Redick.
Milton off the bench, and they got George Hill too, like at the trade deadline. I really liked that move. But like they finally, I feel like they kind of have the team just like perfectly built around Simmons and Embiid, and Embiid's just playing out of his mind this year. So
Yeah.
I think since Embiid is playing so good, they're just kind of like there's so much like defensive attention to him that it just leaves Tobias to get up easy shots and
Yeah. I just wish Ben Simmons would shoot more. Like, he's so soft. Just shoot. Like the regular season, bro, that's your time to practice your shot. Like, shoot a 3. Like, shoot 1 3 every game. Like, I don't understand why he's so, like, anti-3. That's my only problem with the Sixers is Ben Simmons.
That's the thing. Like, when people think of Ben Simmons, they always think of the notion that he can't shoot, but like, that's what I don't really like about.
Not that he can't shoot. It's that he doesn't even try to shoot. Like, that's my problem.
I know, but I think it kind of speaks to his basketball intelligence, where like he might even know like I'm not going to be as impactful if I just shoot these shots. Like, he kind of makes an effort to put pressure on the defense, put them on their back heels, make plays. So I think rather than focus on what he can't do, like, fans should focus on what he can do, which is a lot. I mean, he's probably one of the best playmakers, defensive player of the year candidate. I just think it's unfair to focus only on what Ben Simmons can do when he's brought up.
But don't you think that if he had a 3, if people actually like took his 3 seriously, he would spread out the floor more?
Yeah,
because people are just playing off of him from 3, right?
Yeah, but that's why they went out and got all these shooters, because they know that's probably not going to change.
Yeah.
I think I was gonna say I think they're they don't care that he doesn't shoot. Like, that's like exactly why he said they went and got shooters to actually people who know they could shoot the ball, and they're there to shoot the ball. And I think he's just kind of playing his role to what they need him to do.
Yeah, I think he's a great player despite not shooting 3s. I just think he could get to another level if he started shooting 3s.
I just think he has a good idea of how to play within himself. I think he knows what he can do, and he does it really well. But one thing I want to say is Danny Green, he gets a lot of flack for kind of being a streaky shooter, not a great defender anymore, but especially because of the Game 5 miss last year where he was wide open with the finals on the line, I think. But wherever he goes, and he wins. And I think there's something to be said for that. I think he brings a pretty impactful 3-and-D presence, even though he gets a lot of hate. So yeah, I just want.
Runs.
Yeah, he runs. Yeah. But yeah, I guess just to finish off the episode, I wanted to ask Phil how he feels about the ring talk. So in my opinion, Jordan going 6-0 in the finals kind of ruined how people talk basketball. I feel like people put a little bit too much stock into rings. There's so many great players that deserve to be appreciated that probably will never win a ring. So Phil, how do you feel about the fact that a lot of people think your career is worthless until you win a ring? How do you feel about that?
See, I go both ways on it. It's tough. I think if you do win a ring, it definitely means something, and on your career, 100%. But at the same time, I don't think a ring technically defines you as making you one of the greatest players. I mean, there was so many great players that didn't win rings, and they're top, off the top of my head, you have Steve Nash never won a ring, Charles Barkley never won a ring. Those guys are top 20 probably. So Karl Malone, top 15 likely. So it's I don't think a ring technically defines you, but I think the ring definitely helps your case in making it all time, making you an all-time top player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Chris Paul will go, like, even say Chris Paul doesn't win a ring, which he might. He has a chance of maybe not winning the ring, and
Right.
he'll still be a top 5 point guard of all time, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think so I think it depends on how you get the ring, because like someone like Derek Fisher, he has
Yeah.
like 6 rings or something. Like obviously he's not the best point guard of all time, but like if you are the number 1 player on a team and you get a ring, that says something. That is what, like, rings don't define like role players as wherever they are in the rankings. They define the best players, like the number 1s. So even though I said LeBron is trash, like obviously he's not trash. Like he has 4 rings and he was the number 1 player on all of those teams. And whenever he leaves a team, they are like the worst team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Steph Curry. So I think rings, what it shows you is that they are a winning player. And winning cures all. Winning is what everyone goes for. Like everybody wants to win whatever craft that they're a participant in. Like you want to win. So like for us, like we want to be the best basketball podcast in the world, right? Like that's how we win. So it's like you just want to win, and a ring shows that you can win. And I think the mark of a good player is you make your teammates better. Like Tom Brady, like he makes his teammates better. Like he just went to the Bucks and he just carried them to a championship. So, and he has 7 rings and he's considered the GOAT. So I think rings, and obviously, and there's a difference between rings from like, Bill Russell era where he has 11 rings, but he was just playing a bunch of small white guys, Like I think there's a difference between that and like today's era where you got real deal athletes like everywhere. So that's what I think about rings.
I think the most important thing is like, what are people going to remember you for? Like, I think LeBron's going to be remembered as the guy that always made the right play, where Jordan's remembered as the guy that always got the job done. Like things like that is like, what are people going to remember you for as a player?
And that's why people say Jordan's better than LeBron, because 6 finals appearances, 6 finals wins. And LeBron has 10, like, he's probably like 4 for 10 in the finals or something. But there is something to be said about getting to the finals that many times.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends how you want to look at that. Because, if Jordan got to the finals 14 times or however many times LeBron has been there, he probably would have lost a few too, but 6-0 is, it's hard to argue against 6-0.
It never
and
fails.
Especially since he took a break like in the middle of his career.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue.
It never fails to come back to LeBron versus MJ, does it? Just never fails.
Never.
But yeah.
Well, when you bring up rings, that's what
Yeah.
talk greatness.
Always think of Jordan. All right. Do you guys have any closing thoughts? Anything you want to say about the NBA currently?
Should be a fun rest of the season.
Playoffs are coming up soon. I saw that there's only like 15 games left in the regular season. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just Brooklyn Nets, Lakers collision course. Unless
I don't know, the West might be different
Clippers.
this year.
Clippers.
Could be the Clippers, could be the Lakers, could be the Jazz, could be the Blazers, could be
No, it's
Denver.
never going to be the
Phoenix.
Blazers.
Honestly, any of those, no, I think the West is wide open for the finals this year.
Not
I personally
Clippers.
I think the
Clippers.
West is wide open.
Paul George, Kawhi
It's
Leonard.
just who are the Nets going to play?
I think, honestly, Nets and Lakers might lose. And I love the players on the Nets, but like I said, too many injuries, too much drama, like not enough continuity. Like, what's it called?
Continuity.
Continuity. Not enough of that.
I don't know. I think a fully healthy Nets team is going to the finals. But like, yeah, if there's an injury, 100%, then like they might not.
Last year though, their problem was they didn't have enough continuity, because like Lou Williams had that stupid like wings incident.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, like he went out and got wings, and then he like couldn't play for the next 14 days. Like
yeah, Montrezl Harrell was gone for a couple weeks too.
Yeah, like I think that had more of an effect than people are like giving credit to, and I think the same thing is going to happen to the Nets. And I think the Clippers actually have a better chance of winning this year because of how tragic last year was. And they're not gonna let that happen again. And Kawhi Leonard, you know, he's still like a robot, and it's hard to bet against Kawhi.
I think Kawhi is going to be there, but it'll be PG's the X factor in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's got to show up.
Even I, as like one of the biggest Paul George fans, I can tell. Like George usually has a good game one, and then after that, it's usually a little downhill. So yeah, we're gonna see. But
with different coaching this year, it might be different. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ibaka is better than who'd they lose?
Harrell.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Ibaka's injured right now, but
he's been hurt though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Injuries are the worst thing ever. But yeah, I'm really excited for the play-in tournament. I feel like a lot of people don't really care about it, but I love the idea.
No, I think I like it. I liked it last year too, but it's a little different this year. But I think that like it's still like win or go home. Like it kind of like the college basketball kind of gives me tournament vibes.
Those games are going to be intense.
Yeah. Like I remember last year, what was it? Portland was in it, and Dame just did not want to go home.
Yeah.
That was fun to watch.
It was a disgrace that Phoenix wasn't in it, though.
Yeah. Phoenix was balling in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Phoenix now, they got Chris Paul. They got a good chance now.
Yeah. There's so many different teams that could.
Yeah. West is wide open, like you said.
Yeah. I agree.
All right. Well, yeah, that was
a good time.
It was a great episode.
And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was fun having you on, Phil.
Yo, your last name is you're Greek?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
good. Yo, my last name is Papa Constantinou.
Oh, so you're Greek too.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I actually knew that was gonna come up somehow. I was like, they're both Greek. They're probably
You've
gonna
had two Greeks on the pod today.
Yeah.
Love it.
Big Giannis Antetokounmpo fans here.
Of course. Always.
Gotta love them.
Yeah, there's no Albanians in the league, unfortunately.
Dude,
Really?
but yo, Yusuf Nurkic, bro. That's your cousin.
The Bosnian
I
beef.
swear, bro.
On that note, we're gonna see you next time on the Blasting Basketballs podcast. Peace.
Okay.
Later.
Peace.